Hey, Shalom Akim, and a few Aquas that are watching. First and foremost, call hello Yahweh, Shem Yahushua, Shem Kakwadash, and of course, double honors go out to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who through the Holy Spirit continue to teach us His truth. This is Nama DC Camp. Um, ran across this uh, TikTok feed here, and I'm just using this for educational purposes. All right. Uh, and wow, uh, a lot of people are going to get excited about this, but you know what? When we understand who we're dealing with through the scriptures, there's no reason to be so. It's like, so what? I mean, everybody knew this, but this has been going on for 70 years now. And it's like you're still hearing this Holocaust bullshit, but shit that is actually real crimes against humanity. You know, it makes you, you know, even more, Salaki, uh, ready for this thing to hurry up and speed up so we can get the fuck up out of here, because who are you dealing with at the end of the day? Even though this on its face sounds good, again, who the fuck are we dealing with? And when we tell you dealing with the nation of Edom, who are the wicked, well, you should begin to understand. All right, nothing's gonna come of this while he's in the power seat. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and play this. I gotta reset it first. All right, so here we go.
October 23rd, 2021, in New York City, within a United Nations building, a international tribunal of more than 30 delegates with more than over 100 witnesses who gave testimony over the course of 2.5 days convicted and found the United States government guilty of 5 counts of genocide against black, brown, and indigenous people.
Okay, like I said, so here's the article about the actual event that took place. It says International Tribunal finds U.S. guilty of crimes against humanity. Like I said, this is something that everyone knew. But again, who are you dealing with? And how are you going to enforce this? Okay? Um, wow. It says the International Tribunal on Human Rights Abuses against Black, Brown, and Indigenous Peoples, and that should be Brown and Indigenous Peoples, was held October 23rd through the 25th at the Malcolm X and Dr. Betty Shabazz Memorial and Educational Center in Washington Heights, New York City, aka Turtle Island, Lenape Land. I guess I pronounced it right. It says the main theme of the tribunal was "We Still Charge Genocide," in recognition of the "We Charge Genocide," the crime of government against the Negro people. A 1951 petition to the United Nations signed by dozens of notables, including Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois, uh, Claudia Jones, Harry Haywood, and Paul Robeson. All right, it says the 2021 indictment is against the United States of America, represented by its president, Department of State, federal and state policing agencies, and other governmental institutions. The following is an edited version of the findings presented at a press conference at the United Nations Church Center, October 25th. All right. Background. It says the panel of jurists heard testimony emphasizing the millions upon millions of indigenous and African peoples murdered, disappeared, and nearly exterminated over a period from 1492 through the present. Further, the witnesses and prosecution argued that the wrongs have been historic and deliberate, with colonization, racism, militarism, imperialism, materialism, criminalization, patriarchy. Oh, feminists just love that. Neocolonialism and internal colonialism as part of the larger process that now manifests itself in medical and digital apartheid, chemical warfare, environmental violence and racism, disinvestment, and just so you know, that's how they go about this gentrification. Uh, just so I'll just stop just to explain it just for a moment, especially here in D.C., where after the '68 riots, no one invested in the communities, and for decades, all right, uh, they stayed run down, but that was done on purpose. And what happens? You pour drugs into the neighborhoods, then crime manifests, and as a result, well, the property value, all right, goes down, and they come in and buy it up. That's the same old game. It says, and a pandemic of accessible guns and drugs, just like I said, with the majority of gun violence perpetrated by police and security forces, and the false claim of upholding law and order. Like I said, war on drugs wasn't a war on drugs, it was a war on our people, using that as an excuse. Families broken up, all right, and a certain arrested development as a result, all right, and they knew this. That's why we bring up scriptures like, because there is a conspiracy, and this again proves it. But this is something that we've always been telling you, all right. It's nothing here that Great Millstone, all right, has not been telling you over the years. All right. Uh, but again, like these charges, well, they're true, but like I said, how are you going to enforce this? Anyway, statements were made testifying to new forms of colonialism, which include the prison industrial complex, the military industrial complex, which Eisenhower, on his way out the door, literally, it was January of '61, uh, he made that speech and he warned against the military industrial complex and the commercialization of our health and privatization, commodification of all social services. You got to understand, this devil hates us. This is all about a birthright that he wants back, and we're talking about the nation of Edom, descendants of Jacob's brother Esau, who sold his birthright. All right, he's never going to get it back. But he's going to try. He's going to try to take as many of us out, as he can on the way, per Genesis 27th chapter and from verses 38 through 41. All right. It says, the testimonies include substantial evidence of the erasure of histories. We've always been telling you that. Distortion and cultural misappropriation contributes to and exacerbates the attempted invisibilization and denial of people's basic humanity. Wisdom of Solomon, 5th chapter, right? Let's go get that. We've always told you that. What did this devil do? I can get rid of that. During the Renaissance, what was the whole purpose of that? All right, let's, I done passed it. Here we go. This was a big thing. You got to understand, this individual, this so-called white man, he is not white. He is red, hence the name when we say the nation of Edom. Adawam in the Hebrew, which means red, because the blood, all right, shows forth through that translucent skin. That's a curse, all right. Wisdom of Solomon 5. Let's start at the top. He's very good at misappropriation. Well, let's just call it, give it the name it deserves. It's just outright theft, all right. It says, then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such as have afflicted him, and made no account of his labors. And that's exactly what he has done. All right. Whoops. I don't know what the hell is wrong with this thing today. All right, so let's go back. It says, the profound impacts of all these realities extend beyond the erasure and attempt to exterminate brown and indigenous lives. Hence, as one witness stated, the colonization of the spirit and mind continues to this day. The testimonies of this tribunal reaffirm the traditional wisdom and knowledge of brown and indigenous peoples. Strong evidence was presented on the indomitable, unbreakable. So I keep skipping that black because I am oh so tired of that, because no one is black. No one is white. Don't you see what they have done? All right, that's an insult. It's a taunt. All right, and we got to get away from that. And they never pass up an opportunity to degrade us, and that's one of the out in the open way to do it. Strong evidence was presented on the indomitable, unbreakable resistance and resilience of the people's struggle for justice and dignity in the face of egregious human rights violations and crimes against humanity. The spirit of collective survival shone through. All right. The 2021 International Tribunal on U.S. Human Rights Abuses against Brown and Indigenous Peoples was initiated by a U.S. coalition in the spirit of Mandela, which, of course, was not our people. Its own recognized legacy, based on efforts dating from the 1951 We Charge Genocide petition to the present, rests on the idea that any examination of U.S. human rights must be done in an international context. I know that a few years later, I believe, who was it? I know Malcolm X was one. I believe they were trying to get, I know Ethiopia was one country that they were trying to get, oh crap, what did I do? Salakia. They were trying to get, I believe it might be the same petition, but a few years later, all right, it was another country with Ethiopia that they were trying to go, because remember Malcolm X was trying to take America, you know, before the to the Hague, all right, and I believe this was it, but it wasn't 51, because that was before, you know, his time in nation. But anyway, let's see, proceedings, police killings. Testimony was heard regarding an alarming pattern and practice of police murdering brown and indigenous people with impunity. All right, meaning they did it, and that, you know, they knew there were no consequences as a result. It's just, oh, it's just what we do. All right. We were informed that a recent commission of inquiry found that black people are 3.5 times more likely than so-called white to be killed by police when brown people are not attacking or do not have a weapon. All right. And it goes into the testimony, and it brings up the 13th Amendment, promised the abolition of the process of chattel slavery. It in fact created an exception, incentivizing the incarceration, exactly, of people of, there go with that African shit again, we were never African, all right, descent and other peoples. He says, further, they argue that a school-to-prison pipeline has been set in motion, all right, by the racialized policies and programs of the U.S. federal and state governments. Yes, they are our enemies. All right. What do you expect them to do? And this is why we're out here on the highways and byways. All right, because, hey, that elephant in the room, and that elephant is Christianity has, wow, the mind fuck that has done to our people. Constantly putting in your head that everyone's your friend, all right, and you have no enemies when, wow. It's like I usually say sometimes, you know, you coming from, you know, another world or whatever, and you come here and you would look and you were like, look at our people and like, do you realize that first you were never freed and you can't see the game that's being played? But you can't tell our people because they're trying to make their hell, all right, comfortable, and that is a big enemy. And this so-called white man knows this. This is like I said, you know, I got your mind. It's like I could give a shit what else, you know. It says one testimonial noted the law is used as a weapon of war against brown and indigenous peoples, of course, Further testimony indicates that there are U.S. policies of wars on poverty, drugs, terror, and others, amounting to a war on brown and indigenous peoples as they disproportionately criminalize their youth and communities. Exactly. But who, again, are we dealing with? Let's go to the Psalms here. All right. Let's go to, whoops. What the hell happened there? Let's go to Psalms. Hey, and this is a continuation from, once it, 42, which I would advise you to read. I'll read a little bit of it, but, okay, here we go. It says, to the chief musician, Mashel, for the sons of Korah, as the hart panteth after the water brook, so panteth my soul after thee, O Most High Yahweh. My soul thirsteth for the Most High Yahweh, for the living power. When shall I come and appear before the Most High? My tears have been my meat day and night, while they continually say unto me, where is thy power? All right, when I remember these things, I pour out my soul in me, for I had gone with the multitude. I went with them to the house of the Most High Yahweh with a voice of joy and praise, with a multitude that kept holy day. All right, and all this is saying that, you know, you're calling out to the Most High because your soul is in deep. You're in misery. And why are you in misery? All right, because you're being oppressed. And when we go to 43, it says, judge me, O Most High Yahweh, and plead my cause against an ungodly nation. But so many of our people, that's why I brought up Christianity, because, again, that was weaponized against us, because Christianity is not in the Bible. Another reason we're out here trying to tell our people, you got to get away from that Christianity. All right, because this is replacement theology. All right, here it is, and this is the twist, the demonic twist in all this is this. How am I going to say this? The whole thing about Christianity is that they're trying to replace us, the people of the book, with themselves. It was about Israel, it is about Israel, and it will always be about Israel only. No other nation were given the law, statutes, and commandments. What you've been told, especially since we've been here, is a bunch of bullshit, outright lies. All right? Everybody can make, no, it never says that. I find it weird that you can go to this so-called white man's schools and universities, whatever have you, learn his English, all right, and all this, how to read, comprehend, and yet when you read the Bible, that just all goes out the window. You forget your possessive pronouns and all that. And for some reason, you read in the Bible what's not there. All right, but you've been taught what to see when it's not there. A lot of our people, the main reason that they've been misled is they're too lazy to go in and search the Hebrew and the Greek. All right, they're solely going on what that piece of shit in the pulpit, who has been set up by your oppressor, by the way, because he's got that charter and there's things that he cannot say. All right, so he's so into making that tax-free money that he's going to do it. So he's been bought off. All right, and it's such a disservice to our people. So you've been taught this ever since you were, what, 4 or 5 years old. You've been going to the churches, listening to that bullshit. So when you're finally taught the truth, You're like, oh, wait a minute. No, 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 no. Now we got cognitive dissonance. And instead of humbling down, all right, and say, well, wait a minute, hold on. Let me, a little critical thinking here. Let me just try this. No. You put up that wall, all right, and you just go into that that safe room in your head and you block everything out. Let me read this again. It says, Psalms 43:1. It says, Judge me, O Most High Yahweh, and plead my cause against an ungodly nation, the nation of Edom, the elites of which, the banking elite, run this world. Point blank, period. Not your fucking politicians, not your presidents. No, it is the banksters. And that's the reason I said it like that, because that's exactly what they are, banksters. This pandemic shit, banksters. It's coming from them. All right. Oh, deliver me from the deceitful and unjust man. So why are you trying to expect justice from a piece of shit like this? He was created to be the wicked. Malachi 1st chapter. That's what he is. Like I said, how are you going to enforce all of this? So what if you see, and this isn't from, this is just some people that got together and I mean, to some people it sounds good, but wow. Political prisoners, prisoners of war. Like I say, how are you going to enforce this shit? That's why Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai has something in store for this motherfucker. And we can't see it being that we're in the flesh. But trust you me, this is Zephaniah. That's why this is a commandment. This is Zephaniah 3:8, because maybe I should have read Romans. Well, never mind. This is Zephaniah 3:8. It says, Therefore wait ye upon me, saith the Most High Yahweh, until the day that I rise up to the prey. Who is the prey? Our enemies, chiefly the nation of Edom. For my determination. Now you got to read Joel too. Actually, I should have read Joel before this, 3rd chapter. He says, For my determination is to gather the nations, that I may assemble the kingdoms, to pour upon them mine indignation, even all my fierce anger. For all the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy. See, we talking about the nation of Edom. You got to remember, his blessing is the sword. We can't contend with that. All right. He was given, that's why he has, the mind to think of nuclear weapons and everything else, conventional or otherwise, nuclear, biological, chemical, and all that shit. That was given to him. That's his blessing. All right. And this is why, this is why it's allowed him to do this is why he's got what he's got. Remember, Genesis 27, which I alluded to earlier, verses 38 through 41. That's this blessing. It says 4, Revelation 6:4. And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, that they should kill one another, and there was given unto him a great sword. In Genesis 27 chapter, verses 38 and 41, that was the blessing given by Isaac to the so-called white man. This is how he will get the finer things on this earth, the choice places, the fatness of the earth, as it says. All right. He would be able to use that sword to acquire all these things. And it's not until that's taken away where he has no power. And that's, all right, when he's going to get his just desserts, as the saying goes. And ain't shit he can do about it. That's what we're waiting on. All right. So with that, I'm going to cut it short before the time. You see all these people, going up to the podium. This is Oscar Lopez Rivera, Puerto Rican freedom fighter. So he comes up to testify public health iniquities. Let's see, judgment. It says, despite the need for further deliberation on the extensive submissions and documents from varied expert witnesses, a deep analysis from the juries found that the process did sufficiently cover the scope and elements of all 5 counts. Whatever. All right. Yeah, and it gives all the so-called officials here, like I said, somebody not realizing who they're dealing with, they're going to look at this and say, oh, finally. But what good is this going to do anybody? All right. He's not going around. Well, when this happens, you'll know that he's getting his just desserts. This is Psalms 149. All right. When I said you don't have the power to enforce this is when the power will be given to enforce this. It says, let the high praises, this is Psalms 149 and 6, let the high praises of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai be in their mouth and a two-edged sword in their hand to execute vengeance upon the heathen and punishments upon the people, to bind their kings, their elites. All these bunkers being built, these DUMBs, these deep underground military bases, because they know that shit's getting ready to kick off, so they're going to hide themselves and they think they're going to come back and start the world all over again. No. This is what's going to happen. He says, to execute vengeance upon the heathen and punishments upon the people, to bind their kings with chains and their nobles with fetters of iron, to execute upon them the judgment written. This honor have all his saints. Praise ye the Most High Yahweh. This is when justice will be served. All right. So with that, Shalom.